So there's a lot of stainless steel cookware out there, a lot of different manufacturers, and some of them are really well marketed. So if you're a beginner to stainless steel, which brands are good? Which brands are okay? Which brands should you stay away from? Let's dive in. So let me start off by saying that I've never really made a video like this before. I've never really dove into brands or what to buy specifically when it came to brands and what not to buy. I kind of stayed clear of that. And I like to talk about the materials, how to use things, and giving you guys the fundamentals. But I think it's time for me to kind of give you guys a buyer's guide. 10 years ago, there was like 3 names that were, reliable and trusted and used in restaurants, and a lot of junk out there. And nowadays, there's still a lot of junk out there and they're marketed really well, but there are some up and comers and budget friendly things that are competing with the top dogs. And, they may not be used in a restaurant quality, but I think they'll be fantastic as cookware for a serious home cook or even a beginner. I do want to start off by saying, why stainless steel? If you're already watching this video and you've made up your mind that stainless steel is your thing, then please skip around. I'm gonna have chapters. You can just scroll to the section that you like. But if you're on the fence, why should you get a stainless steel pan? And why should you invest in learning how to use a stainless steel pan versus, let's say, cast iron, carbon steel, or even non-stick? Long term, learning how to use stainless steel properly is definitely gonna make you into a better cook, because stainless steel is not very forgiving. But once you master it, and it heavily relies on learning how to control your temperatures and knowing what you're cooking, you truly can cook anything. So what should you look for when buying stainless steel cookware? I think the number one thing is durability. Stainless steel is known for being extremely durable and resilient, right? So it's very resilient when it comes to scratches, even dents and dings. I beat the hell out of my stainless steel cookware, and it keeps asking for more. Now, not as indestructible as cast iron, but really, really good, right? I mean, you have stuff like aluminum that dents very easily. Stainless steel is not there, right? The other thing with stainless steel is it's really responsive to heat, right, and temperature changes, but it's also kind of resilient when it comes to high heat. You can get really high with this. Now, you can still warp them. I'm not saying they're resilient to warping. That's really user error. You really have to mind your temperatures. But, carbon steel, for example, kind of warps easily if you let it get away from you. I think stainless steel can warp again, but it's a little bit more resilient. So look for something that is built well, right? You really want to compare the flat part of the cookware, which usually all the money's there, right? That's where they invest in the pan. And then the walls. The walls are always going to be a little bit thinner, right? Because they're walls and the material is sloping up. But there shouldn't be a huge difference in overall quality. If you are seeing that the bottom, the base is really heavy duty and looks really good, but the walls are paper thin and you can kind of feel that they're a little flimsy, stay away from it. You really want to shoot for a well-made overall pan. The next thing is versatility. Stainless steel is incredibly versatile. It can be used on gas stovetops, electric stovetops, induction stovetops, we'll get to that. You can throw it in the oven. It can literally do anything. So there are some stainless steel pans out there that are not very versatile, right? Like, you really have to look at the manufacturing specs. Some of them will say like, yeah, they're induction ready and how cool is that and all that good stuff. But then you'll see in the fine print that they're only oven safe to, let's say, 350 degrees or maybe 400 degrees. Is that really versatile in that case? If you're going to be doing a lot of stovetop cooking and then finishing in the oven or vice versa, I mean, just eliminated half of that. You can't even put it in the oven. It's not oven safe for very high temperatures. You also want to make sure that they're broiler safe, right? Now, this is all subjective. Some of you may be going, yeah, I absolutely want it to be oven safe, but I don't care if it's broiler safe. It's completely up to you. My point is, really look into the specs and make sure that it is a versatile investment. It's not limited. And the opposite of that is, let's say it's absolutely bulletproof. I mean, those are corner cases. Do you really need to pay that extra money for that corner cases that makes it indestructible? No, great, save some money and find a happy medium. Induction stoves. So most stainless steel cookware nowadays is induction ready, but you also want to consider, going back to durability and how it's made and versatility, you really got to make sure that the base and the walls are as equal as you can in quality, because induction is notorious for warping almost any cookware. Induction is incredibly efficient, and it really can be brutal to your pan. So being induction ready isn't just a good thing to have for versatility. It also means you have to be extra careful and make sure that materials are good and the specs support it. The next thing that I would mention that you should look for is you want easy cleanup, right? Stainless steel is kind of notorious for, being difficult when it comes to cleaning the pots and pans. You can have a nightmare of a cook and then spend a lot of time scrubbing. I'll talk about that a little bit later. It's not as bad as you think. There's some tricks, but the inside of the pan should be smooth. It should be smooth to the touch. The manufacturing of the pan should be consistent. There shouldn't be any raised material or burrs or anything like that. And then if you run your hand on the inside and it's not a smooth surface, you can feel kind of some roughness to it, then it's not well made. And that roughness, those rough patches, actually, you won't see like, a completely rough surface. You'll see some rough patches will actually be very prone to sticking. So that's a big deal. Really, really consider the surface finish of the pan. Ideally, it shouldn't just be the inside, it should be everywhere. There should be consistency that really proves that the manufacturing process is robust. But the most important thing is the inside. That's where the food contacts everything. The last thing I would consider is the rivets and the handle. Rivets should be good. They should be durable, reliable, well made. There shouldn't be any gaps, and you should have some space in between them. It should be sloped accordingly and even, flush, and with the curvature of the pan. You shouldn't be able to see any gaps or anything like that. This fork right here for the handle actually helps keeping the handle from getting too hot. Not all manufacturers have that. It's really preference. It's up to you. And then lastly, the handle itself should be well made. Most of the time, if it's not oven safe, it's because of the handle. The handle is made with like cheaper material. But feel out the handle, make sure you like it. The ergonomics of the pan is incredibly important. If it doesn't feel right in your hands, you're not going to use it. So it's important to see these things in person and test drive them and really figure out if it's connecting with you or not. Which brings me to size. Do you need a 12-inch? Do you need a 10-inch? Are you cooking for 2 people? Are you cooking for a family, a small family? Do you have kids? Or do you want some versatility and you want to buy both? Size is very important. Now, most of the time, I would highly recommend at least a 12-inch pan for most skillets out there. And if you're going to get a saucepan, I would recommend at least 4 quarts and a stock pot, if you can, 6 quarts or 8 quarts. Why? Because I want you to grow into it. I want you to continue cooking and loving it, but you may not need it. If you're just cooking for yourself or you and your significant other, then most likely a 10-inch pan will be great for you. But a 12-inch pan will cover all your bases and allow you to grow. Consider size. An equally important thing, which is also associated with size, the weight of your cookware, whether it's a pan or a stock pot or whatever. These are 3-ply stainless steel skillets, which means that they have stainless steel on the outside with aluminum on the inside, 3 layers. There's also 5-ply, which adds in more aluminum layers, which basically gives you stainless steel and aluminum, and stainless steel again, aluminum, and you get the point. There's multiple layered pans and pots and pans, and the 5-ply equivalent is going to be heavier than the 3-ply. There's also copper core, right? So there's 5-ply copper core, which again is really heavy. One of my favorite pans, or one of my favorite brands that has been discontinued, was actually made by Kirkland, and they made a 5-ply copper core set. Fantastic, heavy, but really, really mimicked cast iron cooking. And if you don't like having that weight, then you're probably gonna hate them. So consider weight. The next thing to consider is materials. So yeah, they're all stainless steel, but there's different types of stainless steel. Usually what you're gonna see is a fraction, two numbers, 18-8, 1810, 180, and so forth. What those numbers symbolize is basically the grade of stainless steel. So one of the most common and popular grades of stainless steel is 304 grade. You're also going to see it symbolized as 18-8, which is the composition of the grade. Basically, that means you're going to get 18% chromium and about 8% nickel. And that's also going to roughly include about 67% or so of iron. So what does that mean? Is that good? Is that bad? The good news is it means that it's food safe, which is incredibly important. You'll find this grade on cookware, utensils, even the countertops at restaurants, the stainless steel countertops. And then you're going to have something like 1810, which again is 18% chromium and 10% nickel. This grade is going to be slightly better for corrosion protection and rust. So if that's really important to you, you don't want your stainless steel to ever rust or be really resilient to rust, then that grade is going to be important to you. You're typically going to see 1810 in flatware, appliances, even utensils, things like that. But maybe a little bit more on the appliances side of things because of that rust resistance. And then you're gonna have something like 18-0, which again means 18% chromium and 0% nickel. This is a much more affordable grade of stainless steel. It really comes down to preference. So the material is important. So what's some of the best stainless steel cookwares out there for beginners and people that want to grow into cooking? Honestly, I really thought hard about this and I'm just going to limit it to 3 for now. I'm sure there's other brands. If you have a favorite, please leave a comment below, share the wealth. I just didn't want to make this video incredibly long. So the first brand is Cuisinart. I don't own any currently, but I think we all start off with this brand. Cuisinart has a very wide range of cookware, right? You can get stainless steel, aluminum, nonstick, whatever. They also make appliances. Their name is kind of everywhere. But it's really hard for me to ignore the fact that they make good cookware for the average home consumer at an affordable price. They're made overseas, but there are some good products that they do produce. There are also some really bad products that they produce, and that's usually very equivalent to the cost of the product, right? You're going to see the cheaper stuff being cheaper and the more high-end stuff being more expensive, but still reasonable. So a couple things to look for. Everything that we talked about. Cuisinart though, the only caveat is they tend to like to do the whole welded disc thing where you don't have a pot or pan that's constructed in a singular way. This is an all-clad pot or pan, so it's all one material. Now they're layered and sandwiched in, but you don't have a welded disc. This is a very common thing where you see at the bottom of the pan, you're gonna have a welded disc that is much higher quality than the rest of the pan that just gets welded on the bottom. Now, it can be done right, and some of the brands that are much more expensive do it absolutely right. I have nothing against welded discs, but oftentimes it's the cheaper products that do it to save money, and they do it very wrong, and the rest of the pan is just not the same quality. So I would say Cuisinart tends to like to do the welded pan thing. On their higher end models, it looks to be fine as long as everything else is measurable in the same way, but avoid the budget-friendly stuff where it's clearly not the same material. The next brand for me is by far All-Clad. All-Clad is very popular in the restaurant industry. Look, All-Clad is not like the highest quality pan out there. Just because they use it in a restaurant doesn't mean that it's the best thing in the world, right? It's just a well-balanced product. It can do a lot. It's durable, it's reliable, and it comes in at a good price. And for restaurants, they don't necessarily want something that's handmade or whatever, hand-forged, or you get the point. They want something that's good and they can beat up consistently. All-Clad is fantastic. They're known for being American-made. They're also known for having a lifetime warranty. There's a caveat there. They lifetime warranty their craftsmanship. The lifetime warranty is not going to save you if you accidentally warped your pan because you had it on an induction burner way too high. But you are going to get a high quality pan that will probably outlive you and be passed down to your kids. They're priced fairly well. I would say that they are kind of pricey for most people. This is the 12-inch D3 3-ply stainless steel pan, and you can oftentimes find this with a lid for around $100 on sale. Nowadays, I think it's going standard for like 130, and you'll find like coupons on Amazon and things like that for like 110. This is also America's Test Kitchen. I think they voted this their favorite pan. It's a pan that I beat the hell out of it. I mean, we use it in all of our restaurants. It's a good pan. It's a really good pan. I've had this for a long time, and I think All-Clad should definitely be in your consideration. The last manufacturer I have for you is actually a new one. It's Goldilocks. This is probably my new favorite budget-friendly buy. You can get a 7-piece set for like, I think it was $170 or something like that, which I think for most people, that's going to be the set that you want to get. The only caveat I would have is if you are going to get the 7-piece set, I would add on a 12-inch skillet later on. But you're going to get a stock pot, saucepans, everything you need to get started. Lids, you're getting a 3-ply construction, great ergonomics, good materials, very equivalent to All-Clad. This is, I think, directly competing with All-Clad and coming in at a budget-friendly price. Now, they are, I believe, designed in Brooklyn, but they're made overseas. So if that's a big deal for you, then that's something to consider. But if you're looking for a great budget-friendly alternative to All-Clad and having a great set that will definitely get you started, Goldilocks is hard to beat right now. And I truly hope that they remain budget-friendly at such a great price because they are gaining popularity. And so far, I've been really impressed with them. So let's talk about care and maintenance. I kind of mentioned it earlier, but cleaning stainless steel. Yes, sometimes you're going to have a sticky mess. Completely understandable. We all make mistakes. It's not as bad as you guys think. One of the things that I always do, if I have a really sticky mess, I mean, one of the best benefits of stainless steel is their ability to create fond. If you don't know what fond is, it's the foundation after you've cooked something. The little sticky bits that remain, you actually can deglaze the pan, make a wonderful sauce out of it, and it just adds in a ton of flavor. Well, I treat everything like fond if I have a sticky mess. What I'll do is I'll just put some water in the pan, maybe like a hint of vinegar or even dish soap, and then put it back on the stove and let it boil. And then you can just scrape everything off if you have to. Sometimes you don't even have to scrape anything off. It just comes off all by itself, but scrape everything off with the spatula and it all comes off and that's it. You can even soak the pans in the sink if you wanted to overnight. I mean, I don't do that. There's many ways to clean a sticky mess. The other thing to consider is sometimes you'll get something called rainbow stains, which is actually heat stains. And that's just, it happens to all stainless steel. It doesn't matter if they're budget or handmade or whatever. A little bit of vinegar and the soft side of your sponge will get those right out. For both the sticky mess or rainbow stains, highly recommend that you guys get something called Barkeeper's Friend. Barkeeper's Friend will keep your stainless steel looking shiny and brand new if that matters to you, but it's also going to get you out of a sticky situation, no pun intended. So there's many ways to clean stainless steel. The important thing to remember is until you've learned how to properly use it, and that goes back to temperature control, preheating the pan. I have a video on that, 5 common mistakes with stainless steel. You're gonna have some challenges, don't let it knock you down. Once you get the hang of stainless steel, and trust me, you will, it's gonna be your favorite pan. And it's gonna be easier to clean. Even though a manufacturer says that they're dishwasher safe, never put your pans or knives or anything in a dishwasher. Always hand clean your pots and pans and your tools, or the important stuff, right? The precision stuff, the stuff that you really care about. Dishwashers are really, really aggressive on almost anything. And yeah, the stuff that I love, I don't put them in my dishwasher. Let's talk about storage. Don't stack your pans. If you are gonna stack them, put something in between, a cardboard, something to protect them. Don't put them in your drawer, right? Try to hang them if you can. Try to have dedicated racks for your pots and pans, things like that. If you have the space, I get it. If you want to put it in the cupboard, things like that, that's fine. Just if you're going to stack them, respect them. Another thing I want to talk about is seasoning. God, I've made so many videos on this, but just go watch my other videos. Seasoning does absolutely nothing for your pan when it comes to making it more nonstick. You're better off learning how to properly use it and temperature control and preheating and things like that. Seasoning does absolutely nothing in respect to being nonstick with your pans. When I tested it, maybe it had some effects with like making it easier to clean if you made a mistake, quote unquote. But whatever effects you may or may not notice are very short-lived. Stainless steel is not porous like cast iron. It's not absorbing that seasoning. As soon as you wash it, that seasoning's gone. It doesn't stick around like it does with cast iron. I know that the internet's split and some people swear by seasoning stainless steel and that it makes it better. It doesn't, okay? Trust me on this one. When you first buy a pan and the manufacturer recommends seasoning it, that's just to break it in. They're not trying to make it nonstick. Most manufacturers have walked back the claim of, oh, season your pan to make it nonstick. If you want to season it when you first get it just to kind of break it in, sure, go for it. But there really isn't a huge benefit to seasoning stainless steel. So what are my final thoughts? Well, if you haven't figured it out already, a great set of stainless steel cookware is an investment. Okay, think of it as an investment. Learn on it, but trust me, it's going to outlive you. You're probably going to fall in love with it and pass it down to your children. Something that makes a set perfect to one person may not necessarily mean much to another. So there's many different variations out there. Just make sure that it meets your needs. That's it for me, guys. I hope you found this video informative. And if you did, please consider subscribing and joining our channel memberships. I'll catch you in the next video.